Berachos, Zion Hay. Two groups eating in the same house may join together for Zimun as long as some see each other. And if not, these they conduct their Siman alone, and so do the others. One may not recite the blessing over wine until he has added water thereto. And these are the words of Rabbi Eliezer, but the comments say one may recite the blessing. There are points between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel concerning meals. Beit Shammai says one recites the blessing over the day, and afterwards the blessing over the wine. Beit Hillel says one side blesses over the wine, and afterwards over the day. Beit Shammai says they wash their hands and afterwards mix the cup of wine, and Beit Hillel says they mix the cup of wine and then wash their hands. Okay.
Okay. Beis Shammai אומרים, מקנח ידיו במפה ומניחה על השולחן. Beis Hillel אומרים על הכסס. Okay, so here's another din in Tuma and Tara. That you've got to have it, let's call it a napkin. Okay. So we've got a napkin here, and he's busy eating, and he wants and he wipes his hands. Now, where can he put the napkin? But Shammai say Dafka he must put it on he can put it on the table, because we're not okay, and Beis Hillel say no, it must Dafka be put on a cushion next to him, but not on the table. Okay, so what's the reasoning behind this is because of Tuma. Okay, because maybe the Beis Shammai say they're concerned that maybe the cushion is Tame. Okay, and you whenever you're wiping your hands on things, there's a danger of there being liquid, and so the liquid immediately becomes a rishon, and then can possibly, if he picks it up again, his hands will become tamei again. Okay, when he okay, but you don't, but so rather put it on the table. Why? Because the table. Because Beis Shammai hold that you're not allowed to use a shulchan even if that's a sheni l'tuma,
Right.
because of the concern that maybe you'll eat truma on it, and a sheni l'tuma will be possible the truma. Okay, but Beis Hillel say no, you put it on the cushion, because Beis Hillel say no, it's mutter to use the table that is sheni l'tuma. You don't have to worry about, and why don't you have to worry about truma? Because the Kohanim are very careful that they're not going to come and eat truma on a shulchan that's not tower. Okay, so leave that to the Kohanim. We're not gonna worry ourselves about where the about what the about a shulchan that's a shady, because the Kohanim will look after that for themselves. Okay, so and therefore you don't want to put you don't want to put the serviette, the napkin onto the table, because now your assumption immediately is that everything that's on the that first of all it could be a tame table, and therefore the liquid on the napkin will become tame, and your hands will become tame for it. But putting it on the cushion on the side, is why is that? Okay, and Chashash, so we're not worried about that. Rather that his hands should if he puts it on the cushion, there's no worry about him being matame his hands, and better that his hands should become tame, which is no ikam in a Torah. There's no that's something that was completely a Durabanan din. There's no tilas yadayim fuchulin at all for min Torah. It's just takanas chachamim. So rather that than that the food that's on the table should possibly become tame. Because a rishon latuma can make a sheni latuma with chulin min Torah. It's basically, this is the machlokes boils down to, are you allowed to eat on a shulchan that's a sheni latuma, and the excuse me, and Beis Shammai say that you are not allowed to eat on a shulchan that's sheni latuma, therefore it's safe to put the napkin there. But Beis Hillel say no. It's you are allowed to eat on a shulchan that's a sheni, and therefore you may not put the napkin there. Okay, we
But it's interesting. I mean, today we're all talking anyway. But when we wash, a group of people over, they're all using the same towel, basically.
it's not
So,
it's not yeah, exactly. These things are much more of a concern when you're dealing in times when people are eating truma.
right, right. So,
Okay.
okay,
Um, Beis Shammai אומרים מכבדין את הבייס ואחר כך נוטלין אל הידיים, ובייס הלל אומרים נוטלין לידיים ואחר כך מכבדין את הבייס. So you have to sweep under the table. Now the concern that we've got over here is for pieces of bread that are bigger than a kazayas, and we don't want to discard them in a bad way. So um, so Beis Shammai have this concern that you've got a shamash a waiter who's not so baki. He doesn't know the halakha so well. So we say uh, first of all sweep up the crumbs from the place where you ate, and afterwards you do natzilas yadayim. Um, with that this natzilas yadayim here is my machronim. So this is before Birkas Hamazon. Okay. Well, so Beis Shammai say if you washed your hands while there's still crumbs around there, okay, maybe some of the water is going to spill on the big pieces, and you're going to make them you're going to make them unfit, and it's not a good thing to do um, to bread. And since Okay, and Beis Hillel say no. First do the washing, and afterwards you sweep things off because Beis Hillel say you don't have to worry about the hefsed ochlin because any pirurim, any crumbs that have got a kazayas in them, have already been picked up by the shamash before the end of the meal. He's aware and he's alert and he's picking them up nicely. And things that aren't a kazayas, you don't have to worry about them. That's not a chashash. So again, the machlokes boils down to a kula that becomes a chumrah or a chumrah that becomes a kula. Is that because Beis Shammai is more makil here about having a shamash who's an amaretz, and he
yeah,
doesn't know all the halachas over here. So therefore, we're concerned that he's left pieces around, and therefore we have to make sure to sweep everything up before you do my machronim. As
right.
Beis Hillel say, we're machmir on the fact that your shamash has to know what he's doing. But it's excuse me. But because we're machmir on that, we can be makel on the fact that you can do your mayim achronim before you sweep everything up.
Okay, right,
Okay, Mishnah Hay is an interesting little edge case that we have over here.
right.
Um, you're having your Suda Shlishis, and you go off into the night, and now you say, all right, well, I want to bench and I want to make Havdalah. Um, but I can't. But since I've only got one cup of wine, I want to bench with a course over the wine, and I also want to use that course for Havdalah. Okay, so what do you do in such a situation? Okay, so Beis Shammai say, what's your order? First, make a bracha on the candle. Okay, you make you we'll see what the bracha on the candle is just a little later. You make a bracha on the candle, mazon, then you bench birkas mazon and presumably borei pragafen at the end of that, then besamim, and then havdalah, and then you say hamavdil ben kodesh d'chol ben olochoshech, etc. Okay. Beis Hillel say also start with Ner, but then do Basamim as well because you're already in your Inyan of Havdalah. And then you do your Mazon, you Birkas Mazon, and then you make a Borei Peragafin at the end of that, and then you do the Havdalah.
And we don't even do this. We don't do it this
Oh
way
no,
at
we
all.
don't. No, we don't do
Right.
it. It's very rare that we would ever have such a situation. But if we did, if it was a situation like that where you wanted to let's say you had a Sheva Brachas that was going into the night and there was no shul and whatever, and you wanted to make your Havdalah right then and there, then you would follow what Beis Hillel is doing over here. You would start off by making the Borei Marei Aish, then Borei Minei Besamim. It's interesting because
Right.
when we do the Havdalah normally, it's Yavne. The Besamim comes before the Ner.
Right. Right.
So
It's
that's
divided.
I'm
It's
not sure why
divided.
that is. I didn't see that anywhere in the commentary about why Yavne is Uh,
when he says Havdalah in here, is he talking about the wine? Because there's no mention of yain anywhere here in this Mishnah. So see the word
yeah,
Havdalah being used.
the yayin comes after mazon because you're benching over the cup.
Right. Mm, okay. All right.
Okay. There's
Okay.
also בעניין ברכת היין, okay, אבל רבי יהודה אומר לא נחלקו בישראל לא בשמיים על המזון שהוא בתחילה ועל ההבדלה שהוא בסוף. Um, so actually the Gemara brings that the machlokes is that this Mishnah is according to Rabbi Meir, but Rabbi Yehuda has a different version of the machlokes. Okay, according to Rabbi Yehuda, everyone agrees that Birkas Hamazon comes first, and then
Mhm.
and Havdalah is at the end. The only machlokes is on the order of Ma'or and Basamim. Okay, Beis Shammai say that first the candle, then the Basamim. Beis Hillel say first Basamim, then the Ma'or. And that is actually the halacha that we follow. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan says that we're noheg like Beis Hillel according to Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore, okay, so it's not like this Mishnah at all. So therefore, we mevarich the brachas of Havdalah according to the Seder Yain Besamim Ner Havdalah, and the Rosh Tevot is Yavne. Okay, so
Right.
that yain. So in place of yain, you also have Birkas Hamazon. So if you're in such a situation, you would bench, make Borei Piragafen, then like we normally do with Besamim, Ner, and Havdalah.
Yeah.
Okay, now what bracha do you make over the or? By Shammai omrim shibara maor ha'esh. Beis Hillel omrim borei miorei ha'esh. Beis Hillel put it into a plural as opposed to Beis Shammai. Why? Because it's Lashon Rabin, because there are lots of different aspects of light inside the flame. Um, so that's it's a subtlety, and that's of course the nusach that we use is the nusach of Beis Hillel.
I wonder if he uses the plural because there are two wicks of Havdalah. I wonder if he used the plural.
See?
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay,
Okay. All right.
let's go back.
We are on to Dalad Dalad.
Dalad Dalad.
Excuse me?
Yes, Dalad Dalad.
All right. Reb Elliot says if one makes of his tefillah a fixed task, tefillah is not a supplication. Reb Yeshua says anyone journeying in a place of danger may recite a short petition, except save, O Lord, your people Israel, when they are straying to transgression, let their needs be before you, and blessed are you, O Lord, who hearkens unto prayer. If someone was riding on a donkey, he must dismount. If he is unable to, he must turn his face. If he is unable to turn his face, he must shall direct his heart to the Holy of Holies. If someone is sitting in a boat or in a wagon or on a raft, he shall direct his heart toward the Holy of Holies. Okay.
Okay.
So let's skip something.
Next.
We got it. Okay. And we get double yom. Okay. Base solid. If a porridge and flat cake were made of kulin and oil and truma were floating on top of them, and the tebel yom touched the oil, he has rendered puzzle only the oil. But if he stirred it, whenever the oil flowed, is a rendered puzzle. Regarding sanctified meat upon which a layer of sediment is congealed, if the tebel yom touched the sediment, the pieces of meat are permitted. If it touched the piece and everything that comes up with it are connected to one another. But Yochanan ben Nuri says both of them are connected to one another, and the same applies to legumes of which a layer congealed on top of the slices of bread. Legumes are prepared in a pot. When the legumes are separate, it is not considered a connection. When they form a mass, it is considered a connection, and if there were many masses, they are counted. If oil was floating on top of the wine and the tebel yom touched the oil, he has rendered puzzle only the oil. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says both of them are connected to each other. If a barrel sank into a pit containing wine and the tebel yom touched it, if he touched it from the rim of the barrel and inward, it is considered a connection. If he touched it from the rim of the barrel and outward, it is not connected. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says even if the level of wine in the pit above the barrel is equal to the height of the person, and he touched the wine directly above the mouth of the barrel, it is considered a connection.
Okay.
Okay.
Taurus, Ches Aleph.
If one lives together with an Amaretz in a courtyard, and he forgot utensils in the courtyard, even sealed earthenware barrels or a sealed earthenware oven, they are tamei. Rabbi Huda rules the oven tahor when it is sealed, and Rabbi Yossi says even the oven is tamei until he makes a partition for it that is 10 tefachim high. If one deposits utensils with an Amaretz and they become Tameh with a corpse Tuma, they become Tameh through Midras. If he knows that he eats Truma, they are Tahor from corpse Truma, but they are Tameh through Midras. Rabbi Yossi says if he gave him a chest full of clothes, when the lid presses down on the clothes, they become Tameh Midras. If the lid does not press down on the clothes, they become Tameh with a light Tuma, even if the key is in the owner's hand. If one loses an object during the day and finds it the same day, it is tahor. During the day, and he found it during the night, and he found it during the day, and he found it in the following day, it is tameh. This is the rule. Wherever the entire night or part of it passes over it, it is tameh. If one spreads out clothes in the public domain, they are tahor, and in the private domain, they are tameh. If he was watching them, they are tahor. If they fell and he went to bring them, they are tameh. If his bucket fell into the well of an Amaretz and he went to bring something with which to raise it, it is tameh, since it was left in the domain of the Amaretz for a short time.
Okay.
And we have Midos. Okay, Aleph Dalet. There were 7 gateways in the courtyard, 3 in the north, 3 in the south, 1 in the east, and south was the kindling gate. Second to it was the gate of the firstborns, and third was the water gate. In the east was the Nicanor gate, and this gate had 2 chambers, one to its right and one to the left. One with the chamber of Pincus the clothier, and one with the chamber of the makers of the kavitin. And those gateways in the north, the gate of the ray and the gateway was like a pavilion, and a loft was built on top of it, so the Kohanim would stand guard above and the Levium below, and it had an opening to the Kale. Second to it was a gate of the opening. Third was the hall of the fire. And there were 4 chambers in the hall of fire, like suites that open into a ballroom. 2 chambers were located in the consecrated portion of the hall of fire, and 2 were located in the unconsecrated portion. And the ends of beams separated between the consecrated area and the unconsecrated area. And what purpose did these chambers serve? The southwest chamber was the chamber of sacrificial lambs. The southeastern chamber was the chamber of the makers of the pollen bread. The northeastern chamber in the sons of the Hasmoneans concealed the stones of the altar that the Greek kings had defiled, and the northwestern chamber through it the Kohanim would descend to the immersion room.
Okay.
Oh, let's see that. Okay. Vav Bet. If one hires a craftsman and they retract, they're at a disadvantage. If the hire retracts, he is at a disadvantage. Whoever deviates is at a disadvantage, and whoever retracts is at a disadvantage. If one rents a donkey to drive it on the mountain and he drives it in the valley, or in the valley and drives it on the mountain, even if this is 10 mil and this is 10 mil and it dies, he is liable. If one rents a donkey to drive it on the mountain and he drives it in the valley, or he slips it, he is exempt. But if it dies from the heat, he's liable. If he rents it to drive in the valley and he drives it on the mountain, if it slips, he's liable. But if he dies from the heat, he's exempt. If it dies because of the ascent, he is liable. If one rents a donkey and he becomes blind or is seized for public service, he may say to him, that which is yours is before you. If it dies or breaks a leg, he is obligated to provide him with another donkey. If one rents a cow or to plow on the mountain and he plows in the valley, if the coulter breaks, he's exempt. If he rents it to plow in the valley and the plows on the mountain, then the coulter breaks, he's liable to liable to thresh beans. And he threshes grain. He is exempt to thresh grain, and he threshes beans. He is liable because beans are slippery.
Okay.
And Pesach. Pesach, we have Ches Gimel. If one says to his sons, I will slaughter the Pesach for the first among you to reach Jerusalem, then as soon as the first one has put his head and a greater part of his body inside, he has acquired his portion and he acquires his brother's portion for them. We may always be registered for it as long as there is at least an aleph volume for each one. They may be registered or withdrawn from it until it is slaughtered, and Reb Shimon says until the blood is thrown for it. If one registers others upon his portion, then the members of the company are permitted to give him portion, and he gives his, and they eat theirs. A Zav who experienced 2 discharges may slaughter on his behalf on the 7th day. If he experienced 3, they may slaughter on behalf of his 8th day. A woman who observes a day against a day, they may slaughter on her behalf on the 2nd day. If she experienced discharges for 2 days, they may slaughter on behalf on the 3rd day. And the Zava, they may slaughter on her behalf on the 8th day.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, we're still at the